everybody, Dr. Cat here. Dr. Tess is not with me this evening. She had a fight with a carpet cleaning machine and lost. You get all the details for that on your next appointment, those of you that are patients. So tonight we're actually going to talk about CBD products. So it's a huge trend, it's all the rage, you hear about it everywhere. Everywhere seems to be selling it. That does not mean you should be buying it just anywhere. But I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into what CBD is and why it's so beneficial. There's other conversations we can go into with that. But until the full plant is legal, we're sticking with CBD. So, first off, CBD is a component of the cannabis plant. They use hemp, industrial hemp, which I believe is cannabis sativa, to get the quantity of CBD that they need to make all these different products, which is why CBD tends to be on the expensive side. That's because it takes so much quantity of the plant in order to get enough product to be usable and to be beneficial at the strengths that you need. The reason CBD is so great is because back in the 90s, I believe it was, they realized that we actually have receptors in our bodies, not just in our system, but in our brain itself, for the cannabinoids that exist, both the ones that we make internally, because you actually do make your own cannabinoids, but also what comes in the cannabis plant, CBD being one of those. Now, you always hear about the high with cannabis, that's the THC component, and depending on the strains they use, there's varying amounts. Just like in any plant, the strains are different. So the strain that they use is very high in CBD and has almost no THC in it, which is also necessary because THC isn't legal. So any of your CBD products that you're buying will have 0.3% or less of THC in it. Now, you'll see all different kinds of products with CBD. We carry a couple here in the office, and we do have other ones that we can get on demand if people are looking for them. But we have what's called a CBD ointment. So one of the many benefits of CBD products, and let's go over a few, it's an anti-inflammatory. It is great for some systemic issues, again, because you have those receptors all over your body. It helps with digestive issues. Many of you know that my nephew deals with Crohn's disease. There's a lot of research that shows increased receptors in the gut when you have issues like that. So the body's basically looking for that cannabinoid to help relieve some of the symptoms of the disorder. It works for anxiety disorders, sleep disorders, PTSD, all kinds of systemic whole body problems. And when you're dealing with stuff like that, you actually use the tincture. So this is something that you just do drops under the tongue, and there's varying strengths and varying dosages that you use to find what works for you. That's questions that we can totally have a conversation in office about if you ever want to know. The ointment is what you use for like topical localized complaints. So we have some patients that have knee issues. They love to put this on their knees because of the multiple components of the cannabis plant. CBD is actually the best absorbed through the skin, so it makes a great topical pain reliever because you just rub it on right where you're hurting. Now, some of the things that you can use this for, and the research is abound. They're doing more and more research studies to figure this out. What a lot of people don't realize is that this is actually not new. It's a trend now to be using CBD for various things, but cannabis as a whole plant has been used for, centuries as a medicinal herb. It wasn't until the early 1900s, I think it was 1911. In 1911, the state of Massachusetts was, I believe, the first state that passed a law making it illegal to sell it or possess it. Up to that point, it was used medicinally all over the world, including the U.S., as in medical doctors prescribing it to people. Not to mention it was growing in the wild. So it didn't become an issue until the early 1900s, and then it just kind of blossomed into where we are today, which is federally illegal, but state by state it's starting to become legal in more and more states. So eventually the whole plant will be available for use, and there are benefits to the whole plant that you don't get from using the single isolated CBD out of the whole plant, because there's so many more parts than just CBD and THC, which THC I was saying is the one that everybody is worked up about. All of those components work really well and they work better together. So these are a great start. Hopefully we'll get to the point where you can get whole plant extract as well. But if you guys have any questions, hit us up on the Facebook page, pop by the office. This book called Cannabis Revealed was written by an MD out of California. Her name is Bonnie Goldstein, and she actually runs a clinic where cannabis is a big part of her treatment protocol because, again, in California, that's one of the states that it is legal for it to be used. So the book is really interesting. It talks about all the different conditions that she has found useful. She's got a lot of research in here. She even talks about how to figure out how to start your dosing of CBD and how to work up and how to figure out what the strength is, because there's a lot of confusion about how much is in a bottle, because there's bottles and they're usually all this size, but it may be 500 milligrams in the bottle or it may be 2,500 milligrams in the bottle or any number in between. So you want to know the strength of what you're taking, and the book kind of helps you figure that out. Plus there's resources online, little calculators and whatnot, and then of course us as your resource. So great way to deal with some myriad of issues with a very natural product, and it's coming around and it's going to just keep getting more and more popular and more used. So holler at us if you have any questions, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.